The Simpsons. I'm Matt Durson.
I'm John Hunt.
I think he's talking to you.
I'm Josh Lingle.
Clay Anferno here.
Nobody had a funny name. I mean, thank you, Josh.
I was trying to come up with something.
I was gonna be Josh McClure.
Let's see. That would have been pretty good.
Hi, I'm Josh McClure.
You might know me from
good.
Such hits as
Christmas Ape, and Christmas Ape goes to summer camp.
Somebody did try to do some kind of Troy McClure. Oh no, it was McBain. Someone put all the McBain clips together and made like a movie. Anyways, welcome back, Josh. It's been a little while.
Thanks.
And yeah, we're going to talk about The Simpsons. Like a few years ago, we talked about Looney Tunes, and we kind of had we call it the war on Looney Tunes, and we all just kind of talked about some of our favorite episodes and stuff. And I said, well, maybe we should do The Simpsons. We are now at 35 years, literally still going strong.
I feel old.
Yeah, right. I mean, we all remember when it debuted. Not even going back to the.
I used to actually watch Tracy Ullman just for the Simpsons clips.
Yeah,
me too.
I never did. I didn't know who they were, but you told me they were on the Tracy Ullman show. I think when that first episode, the Santa's Little Helper episode, there, the Christmas episode, it first aired in 1989. Man, and I think we recorded it on VHS.
Oh, yeah, watch that thing on repeat.
So, and then what was the next one? The Bart the Genius. That's the second one. Yeah. And then they were off and running. And here we are. Who would have thought all these 35 years later, man, it's, and still go. I mean, feel like there was some eras where people that show's still on, but.
Well, that's kind of me now. I was like, yeah, it's still on.
But it is. And it's a classic, here's what I was thinking when I recommended we do this. Do you remember when we did our Planet of the Apes episode? We talked about that Simpsons takeoff,
yes.
The musical. Clay said there's probably not a day that goes by where you don't think of that episode, right? Or something a line.
I literally think of that every day.
Yeah, me too. Probably, probably every day.
Other Simpsons things, but for some reason that one every day.
In line at the grocery store.
Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas. Yeah, I
your hands off me, you 38.
Well, the thing that I always say is, you're all so lazy. I feel like I want to say that every time someone says they're crazy. It's I want a second opinion. You're all so lazy. I don't know. That one always pops in my head. So I don't know. And I started thinking about, The Simpsons. I think about The Simpsons a lot. And so I thought this would be a fun episode of our lives.
Hey.
You thought wrong. You, sir, are wrong. It's not going to be fun. A lot of things to say. No, I'm just kidding.
I got a lot of problems with you people. So we decided to each pick an episode, and we're going to talk about that. I wanted to do I didn't know how to narrow it down. I sent you guys a list of 10 episodes, and I was like, I want to do all of these. But I narrowed it down to one, and it is apparently a very controversial episode. I didn't really know that when I picked it, but I decided on Homer's Enemy, Season 8, episode 23, the Frank Grimes episode. which
What's so controversial about it?
people think it's kind of dark.
It is kind of dark.
Because he dies at the end. Spoiler warning, Frank Grimes dies at the end. Apparently, Matt Groening says it's one of his 10 favorite episodes, but one of the guys, Mike Reese, who's one of like the directors, he says it's his least favorite episode.
Interesting.
Because it's so dark. The idea was apparently like, what if, well, first of all, they said, I want to have Homer, Homer should have an enemy. And they also thought like, what if this person from the real world sort of had to live in this world? And they thought like, well, they were either love.
They said in one of the things that I wrote was kind of like Frank Grimes is a stand-in for the audience, and not like audience that like loves The Simpsons, but just like somebody watching it and being like, why is this guy so fucking stupid? you know what I mean? Like, how could you love this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but there's also this other side of the thing too. This thing is, I mean, I kind of did like a deep dive into this episode. There's like this part of the audience that thinks that like Homer is this goof, but sort of lovable and beloved and whatever. And Grimes is kind of the jerk for not being able to just let it go. You know, it's kind of I didn't really think of it that way. And I don't think
like Lenny and Carl, they're the most that are just like, hey, what do you got against them? And they're just going about their lives. And Homer's already a part of their lives. And they accept him and they love him. And they're like, what's the stick up your ass? I mean, it's just Homer. That's just how he is. It's about acceptance.
If Durson was in the Simpsons universe, he would also hate Homer.
I would be the Grimes. But also, I think we've all had to work with a guy like Homer, where you're just like, that lazy son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that. That would be a great T-shirt. I would be the Grimes.
I would be the Grimes. Grimy.
I feel like I've worked with more Frank Grimes than I've worked with Homer Simpsons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe I'm the Homer Simpson.
Maybe you're the Homer. Clay.
Because I'm always
you are not.
Like, what is this guy so uptight about? Fucking relax.
Clay, you are the hardest working person I think I've ever worked with. So
I do take that as a compliment, but also I think that I've found myself in like corporate environments where I'm like the punk rock guy, and I'm like, what are you so upset about? Fucking chill out, relax. Like, this isn't a big deal. We're not fucking, we're not saving lives over here. We're like,
right,
putting on concerts. Like the Frank Grimes would be like, it's not time for a lunch break now. Like, well, it doesn't really matter when I take my lunch break, so why don't you chill?
Well, so the real quick rundown of the episode, because we won't go through scene by scene, but basically, I love the beginning where like Kent Brockman is giving this basically like the biography of this guy Frank Grimes, who like had so much adversity, like a silo explosion. I don't even know what that is. Like, how does the silo explode? And he couldn't move, but he got his like degree in nuclear physics while he was recovering from that.
But he also taught himself how to hear again.
Yes, and feel pain. Yeah, like, feel pain again.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and Mr. Burns is like, what a story. Find this man, Smithers. I want to make him my executive vice president. So Smithers goes and brings him in, and he's like, Smithers, I just saw this video of this dog rescuing a toddler and shoving a convict in front of the bus or whatever. Like, the dog was like, he was inspired by the dog, and he said, I want to make him my executive vice president. And he's like, sir, here's Frank Grimes, the self-made man. He's like, oh, put him somewhere. So, of course, he goes down to section 7G with Homer Simpson. It's so funny. He's like setting up his desk. He's got pencils with his name on them, which, I mean, that's a little weird too, right? I mean, I've never had a pencil with my name on it.
Pencils with your names on them?
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have them?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Stacks.
I have had them. Maybe as like a Christmas gift or something.
Yeah, he does say any office supply company can make that, but I love Homer's like, can I have this one? He's like, no. He's like, can Lenny have it? Like, but yeah, like, they're not getting along. And then like Homer is stuffing his face, and Frank's like, look at him. Yeah, and like you said, Clay, Lenny and Carl are just like, don't worry about it, And Homer's about to drink like a vat of sulfuric acid instead of like his drink. Grimes whacks it out of the way and it melts the wall. And Mr. Burns is walking down the hall with his dog, which I love that they keep sticking the dog in there every time you see Mr. Burns, he's got this dog with him. So Mr. Burns, like, I guess he docks his pay or whatever. He just yells at Grimes, and Grimes gets so mad at Homer. He says, "You aren't my enemy." And Homer doesn't like having an enemy. So he invites him over for dinner. And this is one of my favorite Simpsons scenes of all time. Where Grimes goes to his house and he's kind of like, "What? Like, you live in a palace. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment under a bowling alley and above another bowling alley." And Homer thinks that's great. He's like, "Wow." And then my favorite part is, he's like, "Oh, there's a picture of me with Gerald Ford. Here's me on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. And here's a picture of me in space." And he's like, "You've been to space?"
Oh, you've never been.
Yeah, you've never been.
You've never been.
That is one of my favorite. I mean, I don't know why. It's because it shows you how ridiculous The Simpsons is anyway. And obviously someone from the real world. I mean, it wouldn't be the real world. But well, I guess some people have been to space, but But it's just like, it's hilarious.
Captain Kirk has been to space.
Yeah.
Bill Shatner himself.
The edge of space.
That's
Let's
true.
Get ahead of ourselves.
He was edging space.
Edging. Are we talking about the contest again, or is that a whole?
I'm out.
All right, so but then Grimes, says that Homer is what's wrong with America. He's got this lovely family and this lovely home, and the B story is that Bart bought a factory for $1. and Grimes says, "You have a son who owns a factory," which that was a great
That was a great B story, by the way, to have him in Millhouse. Like, Bart owns he wins it in some public auction, and he's like, "Oh, what? He didn't even know what he is, $1." And the guy, like the ombudsman or whatever, gives him the keys. He's like, "What'd I win?" And he gives him the keys, and it's like just this abandoned factory. And then he just is like, it yells at Millhouse like, "Hey, do you want a job?" And he's like, "Oh, I gotta go home," or whatever. He's like, "Come on, I ain't got all day. Do you want a job or not?"
I know.
Like,
They just
like factory.
They're like, "Whoa, adding machines!" Like, it's just like, I love kids in a factory. Like, what are you gonna do? But I love that Grimes works it into the the A storyline too. Your son owns a factory. Anyway, so Grimes tries to prove this is where it kind of becomes like Grimes can't just let it go. Now he wants everyone else to see that Homer is like just a schmuck, and he doctors this. There was this flyer for a kids design your own power plant contest. So he fixes it up so it takes all the references to kids out of it, and he leaves it on Homer's desk, and Homer's like, "Wow, design your own power plant." So he basically takes the power plant that they have now, and he puts wings and a racing stripe on it.
That's the reference I make on a regular basis. And this racing stripe is pretty sharp.
Yeah, but it's really funny because Martin is in the contest. Yeah, Martin is in the contest, and he's like, and Mr. Burns is like, "What is this? It has no soul." And he's like, but it really works. It's lighting this room as we speak." Martin is great. And Ralph Wiggum was in it. He had just a Malibu Stacy house that he put nuclear power. It was like Malibu Stacy nuclear power plant or something. And apparently,
and Smithers loves it. He's like, "Oh, I think this sounds pretty good."
Yeah, he's a Malibu Stacy.
A media room, a hot tub. Get this out of here.
And apparently, so you can hear Chief Wiggum from the crowd say, "Ralphie, get off the stage, sweetheart." And apparently that was improvised. Hank Azaria improvised that. That's pretty funny.
He's just standing there like a lump. Gets ripped.
So, anyways, he shows up with his racing stripe and his, whatever. And they're like, Mr. Burns loves it because it's the power plane he already has. And he says, first prize. And Grimes was like, what? What are you talking about? This is a contest for children. And I love her. Lenny's like, yeah, and Homer whipped their butts. And then Grimes goes crazy and like just starts. I love it. He's like, look, I'm Homer Simpson. Do. And then another one of my favorites, he runs into the restroom and he says, look, I'm peeing on the seat. Which is just crazy. Like, and I'm not going to wash my hands because I'm Homer Simpson. And then in his rage, he sees it's like high voltage wires, exposed wiring, whatever. And he just, because he's being Homer Simpson, he just grabs onto them, electrocutes himself, and dies. And they cut to his funeral, and Homer's sleeping and snoring. And he says, oh, change the channel, Marge. And everyone just laughs as he's being lowered into the ground. Like, that's Frank Grimes. They brought back his son later in a later episode. Try to get revenge, I guess. I don't really remember that episode.
The only thing I remember is he's like, how is old Grimy? He's like, he's dead, you moron.
That's like Quarrel and Quarrel Jr. from James Bond, right?
Yeah, that's right. Go listen to our License to Kill episode. Yeah, I mean, I guess some people wonder if Grimes really just couldn't take it anymore and killed himself, or he was just I don't know. I believe he was just freaking out. I mean, it's best not to overanalyze any Simpsons episodes. Yeah.
The silo blew up. He had to learn how to hear and feel pain and get his degree.
Yeah.
So
things. That was another.
I like how Reverend Lovejoy is like, or Grimy, as he liked to be called, which was just the nickname that Homer just gave him.
I know, he didn't like to be. He said, my name is Grimes, Simpson. As Homer was eating his lunch.
Yeah, but in the eulogy, which, print the legend, is like, or Grimy, as he liked
to be called. I thought this was a good episode. So also, I don't know if you guys care or anybody cares. IMDb has like ratings, right? Kind of like 5 stars, whatever, or they give you like 9 out of 10, right? It's like a Rotten Tomatoes type thing, but it's whatever. Or not 9 out of 10, it's however many out of 10. This one got a 9.3, is actually the highest rated Simpsons episode on IMDb. So I didn't know that when I picked it. But
Grimy did it.
Look at that.
And number 3, I don't know if we want to make this a good segue, but number 3 is Cape Fear, which was John's pick for.
It's such a good segue.
Oh. Do you want to go with it?
So I'm no, it's John.
Cape Fear is my choice.
Number 9.2 on IMDb. Yeah, so I'll pass the donut along, the speaking donut.
Mine won't be.
Thanks for taking a bite out of it.
As detailed as yours is, because I did not do a deep dive into the episode. I basically watched it. That was all I did.
How about that?
Yeah, but it's the return of Sideshow Bob coming to get his revenge on Bart, and it's a parody of the movie Cape Fear. And I can't do what you did, which talk about it in order. I'm just gonna have to just try to hit the highlights. He's writing letters, anonymous letters, and sending them to Bart in blood, and with these threats on it. And he gets out on parole by.
They're pretty easy, I think, too.
Yeah, It's like, why does it say "Die Bart Die" on your shirt? He says, "No, that's German for the Bart the."
Yeah,
and
the Bart. Well, it's actually a tattoo, isn't it? It's a tattoo on his chest. Yeah. The Bart. The. I always love that one. Yeah.
And I don't know. Sorry, I don't have any notes or anything.
That's okay. It's all right. It's a classic. I'd have one knowledge drop on this episode, which I didn't know until
this is why
today.
I didn't go first.
So this episode aired like less than a month after Frasier debuted, because Kelsey Grammer is obviously the voice of Sideshow Bob, and so the 4th episode of Frasier was the same Thursday night as this episode. So I thought for some reason I didn't think about the timing lining up. You figure Frasier must have been on for years or something. It seemed like that show was always on, but no, But he had been
we
on
were lucky
Cheers.
with Frasier. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say with Cheers, we knew who he was.
Yeah.
Beast, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, you're right.
Obvious.
And also, so Hank Azaria said this was his favorite episode.
Well, by God,
How about that?
it's one of mine too. So let's see here. I'm gonna just read the plot off of Wikipedia, so I'll stop saying
Oh, that was mine.
So let's see. Bob is soon paroled. The parole board no longer considers him a threat to society after encountering Bob at a local movie theater where he's, laughing really loud and smoking a cigar, and then Homer is basically doing the same thing. They realize he sent the letters, and the Simpsons join the witness protection program, which is quite possibly one of the best scenes in all of Simpsons.
It's true. It's very funny. I love
The
it.
think he's talking to you part.
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
That's also a line I think of every day. That's another one
Yeah. There are a lot of references in this episode
in my blood.
I make regularly, because this is also the one where I'm cold and there are wolves after me. I say that one a lot.
That is Grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'll finish the plot thing, and then we can kind of go into some of the gags.
sure.
Let's see. They change their names to the Thompsons. They drive to their new home, and Bob is strapped onto the underside of the car while suspended there. Bob is hit with speed bumps, has hot coffee poured on him by Homer, and is driven through a large cactus patch. After arriving in Terror Lake, Bob unstraps himself from the car and steps on several rakes, which is a gag that keeps happening. During the night, Bob reaches the houseboat and unmoors it from the dock. He ties up Homer, Marge, Lisa, Maggie, and Santa's little helper so they can't stop him. Bob enters Bart's room and almost dispatches him as he flees out the window. Bob catches up to Bart and corners him at the edge of the boat, offering him a last request. Having noticed a sign saying Springfield is 15 miles away, Bart quickly has an idea. To stall for time, he compliments Bob on his beautiful voice and asks him to sing the entire score of HMS Pinafore. Delighted by Bart's compliment, Bob grants his request by delivering a performance that includes several props, costumes, and backdrops. As the musical concludes, Bob prepares to murder Bart until the boat runs aground, knocking him off his feet and preventing him from doing so. Bob is arrested by Chief Wiggum, whose police force was patronizing a local riverside brothel. With Bob defeated once more, the Simpsons return home, discover Grandma has grown breasts and long hair because he left his medication inside the formerly abandoned house. The end.
I always love that brothel bit.
Yeah,
I thought that was.
I remember
That's what I think
we
about.
used to say that one a lot too. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
The brothel.
I think even before I knew what a brothel was. I don't know. I mean, I don't remember what this aired in '93.
Yeah.
Yeah. October 7th, '93. Yeah, I didn't ever. I was like, I don't even know what a brothel is, but it sounds pretty bad.
I only learned what it was once the episode where Bart was working in one.
Oh.
With the aforementioned Grandpa walking in, taking off his hat, putting it back on, and then leaving. Yeah,
we weren't recording that, but yes.
No,
yes.
but Clay mentioned that off air.
Yeah, off air. Yeah, I do remember, and Cape Fear. It's funny. It kind of goes. A lot of the references are back to the original Cape Fear, even, which is great. But apparently, this
I've never seen that one. Never seen the original.
I just watched it 2 months ago.
Yeah. Apparently, one thing I did read is that they were kind of short on time. So the rake gag was supposed to be one rake. And they kept doing it because they thought so it'll be funny. And then it won't be funny. And then it'll go back around to being funny because we just keep doing it. But
I was watching it with Mrs. Inferno here, and I laughed every single rake hit. I didn't want it to end. I was like, oh, this is going on so long, it's so great, and I was dying. And then I'm pretty sure Mrs. Inferno was nonplussed.
It wasn't our favorite.
I forgot how funny it was.
Well, it is funny because even when they cut inside, you can hear him still hitting.
Yeah.
The Bart D is one of my favorite gags. That obviously, yes, and the witness protection program bit is gold. Is gold.
Yeah, when I
Mr.
on your foot,
Thompson.
say, hello, Mr. Thompson.
And then when Bart is going to sleep on the houseboat, and Homer comes in with like a plate of brownies and a gigantic knife, but it's all
Oh, it's so good.
and then he leaves, and then Homer comes in, and is like, "Do you want to see my hockey mask and chainsaw?" And then he's like, "Dad, he's scaring me," and he's like kisses him on the head and leaves. And then but after they get tied up too, I thought it was a funny line when they're all tied up, and Lisa's like, "Mom, Dad's drugged," because he's like completely passed out and drooling. And she's like, "No, he's not."
It's funny because, I mean, a lot of the episodes, and maybe not around this time, but especially as they went on, they were all Homer. Like, even Conan O'Brien said, "Oh, like everybody just wants to write Homer episodes," like when he was working on The Simpsons. And this is kind of a Bart one. So, yeah, it's a classic for sure. And there was also a thing I read somewhere, I forget, maybe it was Josh Weinstein or one of the directors really liked Kelsey Grammer's voice. And anytime they had Sideshow Bob, he wanted him to sing something. So that was kind of a reference to, that HMS Pinafore bit at the end. He's like, "We got to get Kelsey Grammer to sing." So
there's some Norwegian newspaper that listed Sideshow Bob's Die Bart Die tattoo as the 5th best tattoo in film and television history.
The 5th.
I like that it's the 5th.
So I might have got this wrong. I was looking at is this the one that has like a McBain? Like, is he the host of the talk show? No, not McBain. Like, well, Rainier Wolfcastle, who is.
Because I was
thinking the one where
it's like you're all homosexuals.
Yeah, and he's got like that German like announcer guy who's like dressed in
full Nazi.
Full Nazi.
Yeah.
So apparently that was banned in Germany because you can't have that. Like, you can't say I have any kind of Nazi references on German television, or at least back then you couldn't.
You still can't.
Yeah, they're still
just like like the KISS logo is different there because they use the SS logo. So it's rounded. It's rounded out in Germany.
Interesting. Yeah. So I don't know if they just maybe edited out that bit eventually or just whatever, because it's literally like a few seconds. But also, I don't think they like
put a few more rakes in.
Yeah, just keep putting in rakes. But yeah, radio, maybe you are all homosexual. They got a lot of mileage out of Rainier Wolfcastle back then. Maybe they still do. I don't know.
I like when he's in prison and like Sideshow Bob's like about to do one last letter to somebody else, and Snake's just like, "Why don't you use a pen?"
Yeah, he like passes out from lack of blood.
"Why don't you use a pen?" And then after Sideshow Bob's court appearance, when he leaves the parole hearing or whatever, he runs into Snake. He's like, "I shall, always remember fondly," or something. And then Snake's just like, "Ugh." It's like a grunting sound.
Dude.
Sideshow Bob's the best.
Gaw.
Gaw. That's what it was. Gaw.
All right, so our order got a little messed up. Do you still want to go last, Josh? Is that still the thing? We did promise you last, so I didn't promise. But so do we want to do, Clay, do you want to go?
I'll go. I want to talk about The Boy Who Knew Too Much. One of my favorites, and also one of the things I think of, because we live in New England, North Dakota, and chowder, New England clam chowder features prominently in this. And I love this for so many reasons. One is just like, this is like a Bart episode too.
Yeah.
So Bart like really wants Bart's playing hooky, and he sneaks into basically the Quimby's compound, which is like the Kennedy compound basically, and he sees something happen, and he becomes the witness for the injury of a Jacques Cousteau like Cousteau. It's like Cousteau. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
Jack-
it could have been
Jack-
Jacques Cousteau.
Jacques Cousteau ask French waiter where he gets injured, and one of the quotes I think of a lot is "I'm gonna enjoy this" just for some reason. I love that. But one of my favorite scenes actually is when Homer and Bart see each other both playing hooky from school and work. And they're like, "Oh, good day, sir."
Yeah, I love Homer puts like a comb under his nose, make it look like he has a mustache.
That's that. And Principal Skinner is kind of has like a Ferris Bueller kind of thing, but he's actually, trying to track Bart down. And then when Skinner's like, the Terminator goes like under the river because he sees Bart on the other side of the river, and he's like going to catch him. And then, but Bart doesn't say Terminator. He says he's coming after me like some non-stopping principal type guy.
Yeah, robot. I do love that scene where he walks under the water. Apparently that's from Westworld. I never saw the 1973 Westworld.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently that was where that was based on.
I guess that would be that. We watched those like over the pandemic. We're watching Westworld. We watched the old ones too. But the best part of this is Freddie Quimby and berating the French waiter to say chowder. He says chowder. He goes, "What? It's chowder. Say it again. Chowder. Say it again."
Say it.
That is, say it.
It's
Chowder.
Yeah, it's chowder.
Chowder.
So apparently, I mean, I kind of forgot this, but there was that whole. It kind of. I read this on IMDb, but it parallels the William Kennedy Smith rape trial a little bit. Like, I don't think necessarily intentionally, but do you remember that? Like, he was apparently accused of rape at a party at Ted Kennedy's house, like, or whatever. And like, it was kind of like, it was big around here. Like, yeah. So obviously Mayor Quimby has always been a Kennedy, his voice is basically the Kennedys, but yeah, so it's kind of a weird sort of parallel there. I don't know if it was intentional, but it happened. But yeah, I mean,
in these past two episodes, they both had like a trial, and there's been trials in the news lately too, which I thought was funny.
True.
But back in John's episode, he goes, and there's a lady in the jury. He goes, "Somebody that speaks German can't be evil, right?"
Yeah, right. Well, this has my favorite court scene of all time when Homer's on the jury and he's wearing glasses. And Apu is like, "Excuse me, I must call attention," because he's like sleeping, but he's wearing the glasses of the guy.
Glasses that make him look like his eyes are open.
The glasses have eyes.
To Mrs. Elder all the time when she wants to tell me something, I go, "I want to hear all about it," and I just pretend to put on glasses.
Give me those. Oh. And those. Oh.
And Homer is like, when he's sequestered with
Skinner,
with Principal Skinner, and they're like sharing a hotel room, and Homer's like stealing all his stuff from the hotel room. He's dropping like a table out the window, and then he's like, the hotels expect people to take stuff. It's a souvenir, and then he's like, "Is that my tie?" He goes, "Souvenir."
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about the best gag. Maybe is like Skinner and Bart are kind of like supposedly Bart, like Skinner's like, "I know you can read my thoughts, Bart. Your ass is mine." "That's right. I think things I would never say." And then they switch over to Homer and he says, "I know you can read my thoughts, boy." Meow, 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 meow. I mean, that's got to be that might be top 10. I don't know. One of my favorite Simpsons gags of all time. It just makes no sense at all.
Yeah, that's the best. Like, speak a little bit more on the story. What happened was, it seemed like as if Freddie Quimby, it's like all like a visual or a non-visual gag, because Bart is like hidden underneath the table
giant
with the giant Rice Krispie treat.
That's right. After he took a bite out of it.
He's like, wow, I've never seen a Rice Krispie square so big. The rich really know how to live. And he takes a big bite out of it. But then the waiter and Freddie come into the kitchen, and then you just hear noise. He goes, I'm gonna enjoy this. And then you hear like a champagne bottle, and you hear like a smack, and then you hear like a bunch of pots and pans, and like just all this Foley sound. And then, so they're gonna send this in the court trial.
They're gonna send Freddie Quimby to jail.
Freddie to jail, and then like the only witness was Bart that can really get him free. So he has to admit, he has to take the stand, he has to do the right thing, and admit that he skipped school that day because he witnessed it. And then what he actually witnessed was this completely klutzy waiter. Freddie Quimby goes, well, now I'm going to enjoy this. And he hears like a pop. He grabs a champagne bottle, opens it, and swigs it and walks away. And then the waiter like falls, like slips on a banana peel, hits like 10 pans, like falls into a room that's full of rat traps, and they all snap onto him and stuff. And so that's what all the noise is. But it maybe could have seemed like, if you didn't actually see what was going on there, that Freddie was assaulted the guy, but it's not. The guy was just a klutz.
Yeah. And then even in the courtroom, he also ends up saying like, no, that would never happen. And he falls out the window and whatever and lands in a truck.
He gets up and he's like, yeah, I'm not the clumsy Clouseau character. And he falls onto like a chair and it gets stuck in his leg and he falls into a gigantic truck full of rat traps. And then you hear snap, 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 snap again, because they did that gag earlier. And then he goes, at least there wasn't a big one. And then you hear like one big snap, and he goes, oh. It was so good. One of my favorite episodes, I gotta say.
It is.
And one that lives in my head. One that lives in my head a lot. And my IMDb rating, 8.3 out of 10. I don't know where it ranks on The Simpsons.
It's pretty good though. I mean, I think because like you said, around New England, North Dakota, it does, maybe it hits a little harder with the chowder,
the Kennedy legacy and all that stuff, like the Ted Kennedy stuff and Chappaquiddick and Quimby. Yeah. Well, Quimby.
Right.
Always love Quimby.
I vote Quimby. I say that like every day.
And
like
then,
you do.
Yeah, they had the kind of the Clint Eastwood character in here, because Bart's watching TV and he's watching like McGarnagle. And that's kind of how he goes like, Mom, should I say the right thing? Because there's this whole scene where like in the scene within the scene, which is the McGarnagle thing, they keep saying McGarnagle like 1,000 times. But anyways, he goes, Mom, should I say the right thing? And then she tells a story about his uncle that was kind of like Uncle Joey from Back to the Future, who like holed up at a compound. Like it took like 32 U.S. Marshals to get him to do that. But that's like, you kind of like Bart's like moral story in this whole thing. He's like, I gotta do the right thing.
Well, yeah, because I think the guy in the McGarnagle movie got like stabbed or something, right? Like,
yeah. And McGarnagle's like, I'm trying to eat my lunch.
Yeah, and I remember, I think Lisa sort of convinced him, like, yeah, you should come clean and whatever. Even though, like, it was kind of funny because Freddie Quimby is such a jerk anyway. So it's kind of like, I guess it was, it's kind of a Tom Sawyer thing going on, right? That's one thing I read. They were kind of basing it on Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, because you have Bart like by the river with like a fishing line on his toe.
Yeah, and he's like, Lincoln is there for some reason. He's like, what's he doing here? It's like, I don't know, this is your fantasy.
Yeah, but then he sees like two hobos like on a raft coming toward him, and he thinks it's Lincoln, but then they're like, you want to see a dead body, kid?
Well,
I don't know how much more I could say about it, except that it's always one of my classic go-tos. Was it on your list of the?
Yeah, I think it was, mostly because of the meow, 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 meow bit. I mean, come on. That's one of my favorites.
I like that. I'm going to enjoy this. And then when you see what happens, like that reveal was like better than most movies. When you see what actually happens, it was awesome.
And of course, there's the classic rice, which I think I made this reference a lot too. Is when he says, Chief Wiggum comes in as, "Oh my God, someone took a bite out of the giant Rice Krispie square." And the waiter's been perfectly great. Man, Wiggum's the man. All right, what did we got?
I rest my case. I mean,
you do?
Case closed.
I thought that was just a figure of speech.
Case closed. All right. Well, speaking of Phil Hartman, I should say. Josh picked a very prominent Phil Hartman episode, actually.
Yes, I did.
Yes. Yes.
It's
I had a stroke. Sorry. This is your favorite? It's Conan O'Brien's favorite as well, just so you know.
I didn't write. Marge versus the Monorail.
Yes.
For episode 12.
Monorail.
So yeah, Conan O'Brien, it's his favorite episode, and he wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Late great Phil Hartman providing the voice of Lyle Lanley, the monorail salesman. And like John, I watched it, but like I can't retain. I retain quotes here and there.
Yeah, I should have thought it out a little more before we started recording.
I know. I was like, I thought about it like about the same time you probably did, and I was like, I should have written stuff down.
At least you watched it. It's all right.
Yeah. I've probably seen it 1,000 times, so I think I retain a little bit more than I actually did. So I mean, we could go a little bit with the plot from Wikipedia.
Go for it.
The EPA fines Mr. Burns $3 million for dumping nuclear waste in Springfield Park. A town meeting is held to decide how to spend the money. Marge nearly persuades the townspeople to repair Springfield's heavily damaged Main Street, but fast-talking salesman Lyle Lanley leads a song and dance routine that convinces them to build a monorail.
More of a Shelbyville idea.
Also, one of those things that lives in my head, the Monorail song. Great song.
Yeah, the Monorail song. Apparently, Conan and Hank Azaria performed it, apparently or something.
I watched it last night. Live. They did it with the LA Gay Men's Choir at the
nice.
30th.
I've seen that before. Yeah, that's great.
Well, now I gotta go look it up after this.
So yeah, I mean, I love Homer becomes a conductor, and but they'll let anybody do it. It's all a big scam anyway. He basically takes the money and he's gonna run away, and of course Lisa and Marge break it open. But it is
After running a questionable training program, Lee randomly selects Homer as the monorail's conductor.
The conductor training program.
And discovers he plans to skim money from the project and then leave Springfield. Marge drives to North Haverbrook, a previous purchaser of one of Lanley's monorails, and finds it in ruins. Marge meets Sebastian Cobb, the engineer who designed North Haverbrook's monorail. Cobb confirms that all of Lanley's monorail projects are scams and offers to help Marge prevent Springfield from suffering the same fate. At the Springfield Monorail inaugural run, Lanley arranges for Leonard Nimoy to be present at a well-attended opening ceremony, which is a diversion that enables Lanley to escape on a plane to Tahiti. When the flight makes an unexpected stopover in North Haverbrook, the town's residents attack Lanley in revenge.
So I don't know if you guys knew this. That was supposed to be George Takei instead of Leonard Nimoy.
My.
But apparently he's on the Los Angeles. He's a member of the board of directors of the Southern California Rapid Transit District. So he wanted all these because he didn't want it to public transportation to look bad or something. He was demanding
conflict of interest. Yeah, I see that.
So he was demanding all these script changes, and then eventually he declined, and they said, "Yeah, we'll just get Leonard Nimoy to do it."
I watched another Leonard Nimoy episode yesterday. I watched the X-Files one.
Oh, that one is classic as well. Yeah. But yeah, Leonard Nimoy has some great lines. What does he say at the end? He's like, there's like I blew it. I don't remember what the great line was at the end, but it was really funny.
Well, like, you didn't even do it. Barney's like, you didn't even do anything. And he goes, didn't I? And then he beams away.
Didn't I? Yeah, that's what it was. I love it. He's great in this. I feel like Leonard Nimoy was a lot funnier than people sort of give him credit for or whatever.
And Nimoy's great.
And he says, I love what he says. I'd say this vessel could do at least warp 5. And then they're like, and let me say, may the force be with you. And he says, do you even know who I am?
Aren't you one of the little rascals?
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, I mean, this is
going.
Oh.
Back in Springfield, the monorail leaves the station just before Marge and Cobb arrive. Substandard equipment causes the train to speed around the track, endangering Homer, passengers. Marge and Cobb contact Homer by radio. Cobb tells him he must find an anchor to stop the train. Homer improvises by prying loose the metal M from the engine's side logo, trying to rope it and throw it from the train. The M catches on the donut of Lard Lad Donut Store sign, and the rope holds, stopping the monorail. And then the Nimoy thing.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's fine.
Is there anything donuts can't do?
Yeah.
Also, the anchor flies through the middle of Springfield, and there's like an anchor store. And some old sailor comes out and goes, "That's not an anchor."
Yeah.
And it splits conjoined twins.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the splits the twins.
The Quins. I like when Marge says, I still think we should have used the money to fix Main Street. And Homer says, well, you should have written a song like that guy. It is great. I mean, first of all, it's got so many of the characters, I think, like the side characters, like characters, like especially during the song. And yeah, during the conjoined twins thing, like it's Dr. Hibbert, right? It's saying like, oh, I can, it's a very difficult procedure. And then the thing just cuts them in half. And I think he still charges them, right? Doesn't he say like, it'll be $1,000, whatever?
I don't think I ever thought of this before, but the whole monorail thing and the M as an anchor destroyed Main Street even more.
Yeah. So, typical Simpsons.
Typical.
And then they show at the very end, like it's not really a post credits, but they show all of the projects that also get built, like the escalator to nowhere and the popsicle stick house, but that gets burned down by like the Springfield's largest like magnifying glass for the sun or something. And there's people still going up the escalator though. Like a bunch of people,
just like
10
falling
people
down. Yeah.
So it's got 9.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
And it's funny because this was one of Yeardley Smith's. She said that it was truly one of our worst episodes.
Yeah. What's up with that?
I don't know.
It's funny how like all the different people think it's like, oh, this one's the best. This one's the worst. This, like it's kind of weird. I don't know.
I'm not a theater guy, so I don't know that it is the Music Man, but it's taking, and I'm reading from Wikipedia now too, but it's Conan took the story from a loose parody of the Music Man and also the disaster films like Towering Inferno by Irwin Allen. Also, he's a little older than us, so those were things he saw probably when he was growing up.
Well, yes. I mean,
things.
Conan does a little skit on Stern, and you won't have to really even search for the live version of the Monorail song. If you watch that, it shows you that as the next video on YouTube. I guarantee it.
Nice.
But yeah, he talks about how Simpsons fans, and like all of his fans of the people that love Conan O'Brien, they always come up to him and say Monorail. It's the thing he's like most known for. And, you know, he credits, obviously, like he came up with the idea, and then they have all the writers' rooms and stuff like that. He credits everyone. But yeah, his base idea, and he says that, and he's also the most proud of it. He thinks it's great, and you know, loved that Phil Hartman was able to do it and everything. And then you make the sad, like, wait, what exactly happened to Phil Hartman? And then you look it up again and you get sad.
Oh no, yeah. Oh no.
I always forget what it is. I like block it out, and then I'm like, wait, what? Oh no.
That happened, I think, in high school, right? So I think I remember like that kind of like stuck with me as like one of the most.
I think it was 97. Was it? Somewhere around? Yep. No, I graduated. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, it stuck with me too. Like it's one of the like celebrity deaths didn't bother me, but that one really, that was a bummer, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, he is great in this. I mean, he was great in all of his things, but this was like, because this wasn't like Troy McClure or whatever, or what was this? Lionel Hutz. I always love Lionel Hutz, but yeah, this guy Lyle Land. I love the way like, and maybe this is from Music Man, I don't know, but like how stupid like, you know, the residents of Springfield are, and the way he can just sweet talk them. Like when he goes to Lisa's class, and he like she actually says like, why do we need a monorail? You know, in this small town with a centralized population. And he's like, oh, young lady, that's the most intelligent question I've ever heard. And I can answer it, but only you and I would understand. And she's like, like, you know,
yeah, that's all
like,
it takes. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Like she's like, that's enough of a good answer to her.
Yeah. And then he says, next question, you there eating the paste. Like, it's like, yeah, like it's so easy for him to just shyster them, but it's classic. Huh?
It is indeed.
I looked up the Bart blackboard for mine, and it was so perfect. It said it says there's plenty of businesses like show business.
Yeah, I like that one. That is a good one. All right, Phil Hartman died in 1998. I'm sorry, but close enough.
I graduated college. Took me 5 years.
Me too. Well, I barely got out. I had to take extra classes, but I got out in 4. But yeah, the couch. I don't even know what the couch, or not the couch gag, the chalkboard gag was for mine. I might have it somewhere. Maybe not.
I just saw mine. What was it? I literally saw it a second ago. I will not eat things for money.
Oh, the boy who knew too much. The couch gag is there, like they're on Letterman's set. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
David Letterman is sitting there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It is. So I don't know if you guys like. There's a lot of things have changed with the Simpsons over the years, and now a lot. Well, first of all, Hank Azaria will not do Apu anymore. Right?
And in fact, I got to see a lot of Apu in these episodes. Or I mean,
yeah,
he was in mine, John, maybe. But yeah, I missed Apu.
Well, I mean, he just doesn't want to, you know, as a non.
Yeah, it's problematic.
Yeah,
I'm glad that it worked itself out the way it did. But I was like, oh, hey, Apu, where's Taiwan?
And I think to get so that, you know, Carl also like, and I think maybe I don't know, Dr.
Carlson.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Hibbert too. But I'm looking at it. So they got the guy from Swingers, the guy who says this place is dead anyway, to do like, because he's black, so they have him do like the black characters and stuff, just to make it a little less problematic, you know, like just to be like, you know, yeah. So I thought that was cool. You know what I mean? Get a black actor.
Well, it's been around for 35 years, and they grow with it's it is enduring and popular, and it's not like it's fucking like woke or something. It's just kind of
Right.
like adapting with the times, and that's all good. And one thing that I think I had mentioned when we were talking about doing this episode, like I haven't seen any recent Simpsons, but I do always watch like the Disney little shorts that they do. Like they did with Billie Eilish, and they do like a Star Wars one and stuff. Then they always make fun of Disney on it, like they used to make fun of Fox.
Yeah.
And those are so funny. I love it. They're like 3 minutes, and they're so good. There's like a bunch of them on there.
Yeah, those are the ones I usually watch too.
Yeah, they're. In fact, a few years ago, there was that short that was nominated for an Oscar. The Simpsons, was it Lisa in whatever? It was like something like not Lisa, Maggie in daycare or whatever. Like I think, I couldn't believe it. That was great. A Simpsons short nominated for an Oscar. I thought that was pretty good. In fact, though, I was wrong. Dr. Hibbert is a different actor, but his name is Kevin Michael Richardson. But I'm pretty sure he's still a black guy. But yeah, the point is they're not making it like woke or whatever, right? It's just they're just keeping up with the times. If you've been on this long, you gotta change.
And that was like a campaign that guy Hari made. Was like, why are we doing a poo? And they were kind of, to their credit, they kind of listened to him, and they did the right thing. I think, and didn't make a huge fuss over it or whatever.
Right.
Did they kill him off or something? What did happen to him? Do we know?
What happened to?
Like literally, what happened to Apu in the
I actually don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. They definitely just stopped using him because he was kind of, like working in the convenience store and whatever. It was definitely like a bit of a.
And they killed
problem.
They killed Flanders' wife off, right?
Yeah. Well, she was traveling from like Colorado or something like to record her lines, and she wasn't really a main character. So she's just like, yeah, I don't think I want to do this anymore. But they did it in such a hilarious way that like I think she was cool with it. They didn't like kill her off just because like
the t-shirt cannon thing.
Yeah, the t-shirt. And then like Homer makes the video of Flanders, and he's filming him in the shower, and he's got like the biggest dick apparently or something. Do you remember that? It's like digitized out. Like, I love that. And he's like, "Oh baby, there's the money shot." And of course, that's another classic line. We're in star wipe, and we're out. And,
I'm taking my name off this thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think that I don't know if you guys I reference it a lot, but yeah, that is a classic episode.
I've been doing some video editing lately, and sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to throw in a star wipe. Why not?
Hey, there you go.
So do you guys want to know a fun fact?
Yes.
Kevin Michael is it Richards or Richardson?
Richardson. Yeah.
He did the voice of Roadblock in G.I. Joe Renegade.
Nice.
Remember, I knew the name from somewhere. I'm just
Joe.
He has an awesome voice.
Wow, right.
Apu is still alive. They did not kill him off. He's on vacation or something.
They're just not going to mix characters. There were plans for the character Apu to make an appearance in season 33. However, Simpsons creator Matt Groening stated, "We have to see if we can make the stories work." So yeah, they'll find Apu somewhere, but maybe his 8 kids will be on.
Yeah, maybe they don't really grow up, do they?
Yeah, you're right. No one ever grows up.
But they could they could do something cool, like bring them back like when they're at their 40-year anniversary or something. You know what I mean? They come up with a good reason to have him.
Yeah, they'll find. He doesn't have to be like the guy who owns the Quickie Mart or whatever, or works in the Quickie Mart. You just have him be something else. The
Quickie Mart song is one of the best songs on all of Simpsons.
Oh, that's true. Yes, I do. I know John used to like to make the reference. The Quickie Mart is really dope.
Yes.
I also think apparently Hank Azaria won't do like the guy from the Birdcage kind of voice anymore. Like when Homer moved in with the 3 gay guys, which is Do you remember that? Does anyone remember that one?
I don't remember that
big.
one.
No.
I forget why, but for some reason he was living with, and she's like, Homer, they prefer the company of men. And he's like, who doesn't? And then like, hey, if we have a man living here, we can walk around naked. And Homer's like, way ahead of you. And he just walks up like you see his ass. But apparently, yeah, like Hank Azaria, since he's not gay, he will not do that voice anymore in The Simpsons either. So,
See,
but
I
they,
think there's like a point though. Like, I mean, that's his prerogative, I guess, but it's just like you don't need a drunk to be playing Barney, you know? It just, I don't know.
I mean, I see. I definitely see what you're saying. Like, is it too?
You don't
When
always
is
have to be
too
the
much?
thing that you're playing. It's called acting.
That's true.
Yeah, one thing too is like, you know, like Hank Azaria was like the voice of Frank Grimes. You know, he's
Yeah.
all of these actors, including like I listen to Harry Shearer's podcast. You know, I love Spinal Tap. I think he's a cool person. You know, like, and he does. I know he records like and has for years, like from his house. And they all what I'm getting at is a lot of these actors, they're doing like so many voices. Dropping a poo and getting someone else to do it or whatever doesn't really matter to Hank Azaria because he still has like so many others to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's not like Maud Flanders where she only did Maud Flanders, you know. It is funny too, because I remember this is many years ago now. There was kind of like they didn't hold Fox up for money, but there was kind of like the Simpsons actors were like all gonna
The
want
voice actors, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
like a thing. I do remember that.
Yeah. And they were like, ooh, and they basically, I think, had to just give them whatever they wanted like to stay. So I think they're doing okay, you know, money wise. And obviously the syndication rights and everything. I mean, it's on every night. I mean, they must be raking it in. Not that it's about the money, but yeah, they're doing okay.
I think that they could have done it another time, but that story might be from like 2004.
I think you're right. It was a while back. It was a while back.
There was something recent.
20 years
I think I was reading something the other day that said that, like, fear not, the Simpsons voices are still going to be the Simpsons voices. It's not going to change anytime soon.
Oh, they probably held up the mouse for some money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Maybe get some of that streaming money.
Get
That's
some of
like
that cheese.
I remember the voice of Mrs. Krabappel. I should probably look it up so I don't just say the voice of Mrs. Krabappel. But yeah, she passed away
Yeah.
a while back, and I don't think she did a lot of other voices. But I think the chalkboard gag was just kind of like, "We'll miss you, Mrs. Krabappel, or Mrs. K, or whatever." But I mean, yeah, some of these, even what's her name? Marge. Her voice has started to get kind of raspy. And like, I know you guys say you don't watch it that much anymore, but Julie Kavner is starting to sound kind of like, I mean, she always had that, but it's starting to sound more
It's like natural.
Yeah, like, I mean, after 25 years, you know, of course, it's going to start. Everybody
Mrs.
gets old.
Krabappel
Yeah.
update. Marsha Wallace was passed away in 2013. Is now portrayed by Julie Kavner.
Oh, I see. So they still have Mrs. K on there, but yeah, she was funny. That's right. So yeah, I mean, 25 years it'll happen. You know, change.
And there was
change.
at least in one of these episodes, at least one Itchy and Scratchy, which is always great too. Like the shows inside the shows, like McBain, you know, Itchy and Scratchy, Krusty, obviously. They're so funny. They have a world inside a world inside a world.
Well, I feel like Itchy and Scratchy has sort of outlasted the cartoons it was based on. You know what I mean? Like Tom and Jerry type of cartoons, right? Like it's completely taken over that. Like no one would even remember.
Yeah, right. They wouldn't recognize the reference. Just like when we were growing up, like I always think of this, like when we were watching Bugs Bunny cartoons, and they would be like, they would have like the old crooners on there, like Bing Crosby or something. Is like, how am I supposed to know who this whole guy is? That was like from 30 years ago, and you get it out of context, but also it's like referencing something that's like so old and like not 80s rock and roll. You're like,
Yeah.
who are these guys? It's not even something your parents listen to, it's stuff your grandparents listen to. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess, yeah.
Scratchy to more like a Rick and Morty.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Times.
But like, or like the Flintstones was like the Honeymooners, basically, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know what the fucking Honeymooners is. I'm 8 years old, you know.
Even when we were watching the Flintstones, that wasn't like it was new, wasn't it? Old then? Wasn't that? Like,
yeah, I guess. Yeah, when I was a little kid, yeah, probably. They still make Flintstones
right?
stuff.
I always hated new Flintstones. Whenever they'd updated the Flintstone stuff, I was always like, oh, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
All the Hanna-Barbera stuff doesn't like. I'd rather watch the old stuff than like, you know, the new improved Jetsons or whatever, 1988 movies or whatever. Don't like it. I won't have it.
No, sir. Won't have it. Well, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that they still. I mean, I don't know. I saw a box of Fruity Pebbles the other day, and I'm like, do people still know what these guys are, these characters? But
well,
I
yeah,
so.
I mean, they've worked their way into like now, like kids are dependent on Fruity Pebbles and Flintstones vitamins. Aside from the fact that it's referencing Flintstones from 50 years ago.
Yeah, right.
They've just always been able to sell that stuff.
Yeah,
who doesn't like to pop a couple Barneys and go out for a night on time, fresh up some dinos, snort them, and go out and
snort them.
Go out for a night on the town. You know what I mean?
So I wonder. I mean, I feel like The Simpsons has been on as long as, I mean, a lot of those other shows, you know, and it will go down in history. We'll go down. Wait, that wasn't. Was that Flintstones, right? Yeah, we'll go down in history.
Is it literally the longest running show ever?
I forget. Maybe.
Let's see.
I don't know. Yeah, get the.
Oh,
Google
well, I
on
guess
that.
you can't really include. I guess there's a definitive answer, but you know, we have Sesame Street, we have General Hospital.
Oh, right.
A bunch of soaps. The outlier being Sesame Street. Romper Room has been around for 41 seasons. Who knew?
It's still
what? This says longest running scripted American primetime television series, and it is The Simpsons. So there are parameters, but scripted television. I mean, that's
running animated special where the characters are yellow.
That's right. Number one by a long shot. But yeah, longest running scripted American primetime television series, Simpsons at 35, Law and Order SVU 25.
Wow.
Which is weird because Law and Order 23. Did Law and Order itself, like the Law and Order? Oh, no, it says present. How did SVU be on longer than regular Law and Order? I thought regular and all.
I think regular Law and Order stop for a few years and then came back.
Oh, maybe.
I know you're right.
Same thing with Family Guy, because that also stopped and came back. But Simpsons is way ahead of all of these. So it doesn't even, like, it's kind of funny. Like, there was that classic South Park, that line where they're like, Simpsons did it. And I think they did that on Family Guy too. It's like all these shows, like they gotta like think about that every time they try to script an episode. They're like, oh, did that happen on The Simpsons already? Because after all these years, I mean, they've done everything,
including predict the future.
That's right. They predict the future a bunch of times. But I mean, I remember reading an interview with Matt Groening a while ago, and he said something like, "If we ever do an episode that's just about the pimple-faced kid, then you know we're fresh out of ideas." You know that guy? But I don't know. Maybe they've done it by now, because that was a long time ago too. I guess just to put a capper on this, maybe, or whatever, you guys obviously can say
Put a
whatever you want.
frosting on it. Put a pink
I'm gonna put a little frosting on the
donut.
Yeah, on the donut. I'm glad for one that it's always around, even before Disney Plus. Like, let's say it's something I could always clip, like, oh, it's on FX or whatever. Back in the cable days, which I still have cable, so, but you could just like, it was on a lot, and you could always just throw it on. And like, now I love like Disney Plus because like during October I'll watch some Treehouse of Horror and stuff, and every year I watch that first episode every Christmas. It's like I watch my Christmas shows, so I know people are kind of like, oh, The Simpsons is still on, whatever. But yeah, isn't that cute? But I still enjoy it, and I can't see myself ever not enjoying it. So thanks to you, Simpsons creators, and thanks for doing this episode. Anybody else?
You.
Oh, thanks to you.
Thanks.
It's got a long-standing cultural impact, like you were saying, like Simpsons did it. Like the Matt Groening episode of Portlandia is hilarious. If you ever seen that little skit with Spike and the Eat My Shorts court case, it's really funny. It hits, and we were the exact right age to get started with it and have it grow in our lives. Because I was there for Tracy Ullman days. I watched it because it was almost like Dr. Katz, like squiggle vision back then. The animation was really bad, like those like
yeah, the
It
demo
looks real
episode.
weird.
Yeah.
They looked a lot different, and it's funny because the voices were the same, but Dan Castellaneta just kind of changed the way he did Homer and whatever.
Yeah, Homer was Walter Matthau, an imitation of Walter Matthau.
Right. Oh, the boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. But you're right, though. We were just the right age, I think, and we were able to enjoy it, and yeah, here we are, still enjoying it. At least I am. I don't know.
My favorite like Simpsons memories are kind of like living in college, like in like a place with a bunch of roommates, and then being like, oh, it's Sunday night, like we don't have band practice tonight or whatever, like Simpsons is on, and you can still watch it with your friends and remember like all the jokes together and stuff like that. I remember like partying and like Simpsons being involved. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, I was like Sunday night, it's 8:00.
Yeah, and it's pretty much still on. I think Sundays at 8:00. Weirdly enough. So, anybody else got any final thoughts? Springer's final thoughts? Simpsons' final thoughts?
A+.
I think so.
I mean, I don't know what you
A+.
And each other.
That's right. There's another reference nobody will get. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Josh, for coming on. Don't forget to check us out. Check us out on LeaguePodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts, and YouTube. We got a lot of stuff up there. Give Clay, some love since he's developing carpal tunnel, editing all of our videos.
Give us some love. Give us some subscriber numbers. We have some views lately, so everybody out there needs to go subscribe. It won't hurt.
Everybody, all of you, all three of you.
Button.
Smash it. Oh, thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys later.
There you go. Adios.
Adios. Isn't that a Bart thing?
How about that?
Bake him away, toys.
I know you can read my thoughts, boy. Meow 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 meow.